The mystery machine drives through the countryside. As the winds whip and whistle, the mystery machine pulls into Winona, a town with less wit and whimsy than a whistle. What awaits our weirdos? Welcome to Mysteries in the Machine.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Ethan.
Oh my goodness. There's wind blowing the back of the mystery machine open. Who is someone there? Is someone coming? I wonder who could be.
I actually hitched a ride with someone else. The back of the mystery machine should be empty. Hi.
What? Oh, did you hitch a ride with our buddy Speed Buggy? Is that it?
Yeah, that annoying ass car. He wouldn't shut up. Anyway, hi, I'm Phil.
Hello, Phil. Oh my goodness.
All right, Phil, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, your history of Scooby-Doo, and your pronouns if you're a cool cat like that.
So I mean, in a perfect world, my pronouns would be it, that, because I'm not all that attached to my humanity, and I'm feeling pretty proud of that mentality based on recent events. But I go with he, him in general company because I'm not like that hung up on any of it, and why waste my white male privilege if I've got it? You know, I can use it for some good, hopefully. Scooby-Doo. I used to watch it as a kid a lot. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You was what I grew up with. And then after I stopped watching it, I heard that it got worse for a bit and then better. So this is from the era where it got worse for a bit, apparently. And having watched this Scooby-Doo movie, I can say that it added 22 minutes so that they could do 22 minutes more of nonsense, not to do a better mystery.
That's been the case for most of the episodes that we've looked at so far.
And that's not necessarily a terrible thing. I think because I don't have the nostalgia for it, you know? But yeah, I was never like a, oh my god, I love Scooby-Doo kind of person, but it was definitely one of my favorite cartoons.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Before I knew about all the racism.
That is just a recurring theme, my friend.
Listen, I tried to pick an episode that did not have, like a bunch of racist shit, and was about like, the weird property selling bullshit that seems to happen in so many Scooby-Doo episodes.
Yeah, it's good recurring motif.
I thought you would enjoy that. So.
Yeah, no, it definitely fits with some of my agenda.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, when I do my plugs.
I mean, you can tell people what you do on the internet a little bit, to intro yourself.
I mean, mostly I just hang out in the same Discord that Charlie and Ethan are in that is not affiliated with this podcast. I don't have any social media presence at all, otherwise. But I do another podcast called The Unsociablists, which is a portmanteau of unsociable and socialists, and is borderline unspellable. So hopefully there's a link in the episode so that you can find it. God, goodness knows it's hard to Google.
I'm editing this episode. I'll put a link.
Right on. I'll send you a link to the trailers.
Okay, cool.
I also recorded an episode of that podcast.
Yes. I was going to talk about that at some point. But yes, Charlie recorded an episode with us. Whether that episode will be out before or after this one is debatable. Kyle edits our podcast, but he's also an editor by profession. So if he's too burnt out from editing at work, it takes him a little longer to get the pod out. We're not on any kind of schedule.
The episode's going to come out in about a month.
Okay. Yeah. By then we'll maybe have ours out then. Yeah. It should be about there is either already an episode with Charlie or soon.
Yeah. Good shit. All right. Do we want to...
What makes these Winds of Winona weird?
Well, do we want to talk about the guests that are in this episode first?
Oh, of course.
First, I noticed I saw Speed Buggy, and I'm like, am I supposed to know who the hell these guys are? Because I guess they were a current cartoon of the time.
That's the vibe of like this specific Scooby-Doo show, is that every episode has a different guest star. Sometimes they're like famous people, sometimes they're cartoons or like live action shows, but like they're they're just generally something that's relevant from the time of this. So there's like lots of different guest vibes for this show. Like we've had Don Knotts, we've had the Three Stooges, we've had Batman and Robin. This show is the origin of like Batman and Scooby-Doo's friendship. So like that's just what this show brought at the time. But this episode we have Speed Buggy, which guess what? It's another Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Did you know that?
I had an inkling, but I was just like, clearly they were just trying to promote Speed Buggy by putting him on Scooby-Doo, because I can't imagine the show did all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it ran. I'm looking at
For a
their
season.
Wikipedia.
It had one season of 16
season.
episodes. It did about the same as like the Genie cartoon that also had a crossover this season.
The only reason I recognized these guys was because they were part of the Boomerang bumpers that would go like in between episodes. Like, it's the same with this and like Jabberjaw and Magilla Gorilla. That's the only reason I know who they are.
I was gonna say, I thought, Ethan, you might have recognized them from an episode of Mystery Incorporated.
Oh, right, where they got all of the Hanna-Barbera characters together.
Yeah, they had one episode of that show that was just a love letter to Hanna-Barbera, and they included Speed Buggy as well as all the other guys.
I feel like I'm amateur hour in the early '90s nostalgia compared to you two.
Mystery Incorporated was in
the there. Nope.
Yeah, Mystery Incorporated is one of the more recent Scooby-Doo series.
2011.
It went from 2010 to 2013.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, even so,
Phil, I would highly recommend Mystery Incorporated. Like, it's Scooby-Doo, but like there's an overlying plot, and it gets very like weird and creepy and shit. Like, it's a good vibe of a Scooby-Doo show. It's probably the best one. Just
if I'm ever looking for another show, I don't watch a lot of TV, but if I'm looking for something, I'll keep that at the top of my list.
I think it's worth your time.
It's the Scooby-Doo that I would recommend to anybody, especially people if you've liked like the 90s Scooby-Doo movies. Like it's got a good vibe like that too.
Well, I think Phil's only watched Where Are You? But
Where Are You is what I watched as a kid, and then I just checked out after that. And which is a shame, because I heard that What's New Scooby-Doo or The New Adventures, apparently.
What's New Scooby-Doo? Also just a banger of a show. It's like the Where Are You, but for like the early 2000s.
Yeah. It was the first Scooby-Doo show that I remember watching that was modern. I also watched Where Are You as a kid a lot, but
yeah. But like if you've never seen the 90s movies, oh my dude, Zombie Island.
There's Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, Cyber Chase, and
the only one
Alien
of the
Invaders.
90s movies I watched was the live action, which doesn't count.
That's fair.
2001, actually.
Oh, well, that tells you how in the loop I apologize. I'm a bit of a Scooby-Doo amateur, but I ain't gonna pass up a podcast guest spot.
That's okay. That's okay. But yeah, no, Zombie Island is the scariest Scooby-Doo exists.
For sure, I will keep that on my radar.
All right, so Speed Buggy.
Speed Buggy. I see why it only stuck around for a season, because over the course of this episode, I was like, this is just Scooby-Doo, but a car instead of a dog.
And way more annoying.
Yeah. And also, like, his rev-up noises are just fart sounds. I don't know if that sounded like that to y'all, but that's what it sounded like to me.
That wasn't the vibe I got, but I could retroactively hear it.
I know people are not... people who hear this, like, today probably do not like Speed Buggy, and I'm pretty sure y'all found him annoying, but I've seen this episode so many times that he's just endearing to me.
Well,
and seeing what he's based on, I'm not surprised that I love Speed Buggy, because he's very inspired by like Herbie the Love Bug, and also apparently Speed Racer. So like, good shit.
Wild.
We just love an anthropomorphic car, okay?
Well, and speaking of it being anthropomorphic, so at first we see the car has a tongue, which already raises some questions, and then we see he's ready to eat pancakes. So if Speed Buggy gets in a horrible wreck, are we just going to see guts like everywhere, like humanoid guts just spilling out of him?
This is the Cars question. If you've ever seen the movie Cars, it's the same principle.
Before there was Lightning McQueen, there was Speed Buggy.
Yeah, but Speed Buggy also did it the right way. His eyes are his like headlights. In Cars, their eyes are like the windshield.
It's the windshield.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
he's got to learn to not question stuff, I guess.
I think the logic was people see out of the windshield.
True. And maybe they wanted them to have more humanized faces than
I
what
guess.
we get with Speed Buggy, and like
Yeah.
if you actually tried putting like the eyes on the headlights and then the mouth as like
Yeah.
the
Great.
what's it called?
The bumper?
Great, yeah, bumper, whatever it's called. I can't remember car words. I'm not a
That's
car
fair.
person. I feel like it probably would look a bit more cartoon.
Definitely.
Yeah, so Speed Buggy, we've got our three people, and then Speed Buggy himself, who is he's just a dune buggy. He's called Speedy. He's so cute. He makes noises that boop doop doop doop.
Yeah, that's his sound more or less, and it doesn't get old at all.
No, not even a little bit.
It just sounds like he's breathing whenever he's on screen. Like that's just the sound of him breathing.
Hey.
Yeah, poor guy. But the other characters we have are our Fred lookalike, but not because a character of color. What's this? What's going on here?
A racially ambiguous.
Yeah, racially ambiguous Fred. Mark, who's apparently the brain of the group, according to the Speed Buggy Wikipedia.
Give me that vibe. He said it seemed like someone good at cars, but not necessarily.
He just seemed like the de facto leader because he's got the generic guy, broad shoulders. That just seemed like the vibe to me. Debbie, who is our Daphne lookalike, and also just the girl.
The girl, yeah.
Oh, it says she's the leader, actually. Okay.
See, I got that impression more. So
that makes sense. Yeah, I also got that impression.
Well, then, even if I don't like Speed Buggy as a character, congrats to the show for being a little more woke than most stuff of the time.
Yeah, our one female
the bar was
lead.
so low back then.
The bar is
the bar is getting lower again now. All of a sudden, yeah.
I know.
Does this show pass the Bechdel test? Maybe not, but the girl is the leader of the group.
If Speed Buggy is non-gendered, it's not necessarily two women having a conversation, but if she and Speed Buggy have a conversation, I don't think that's two guys having a conversation.
He does use male pronouns, but he's a car, so
I was referring to Speed Buggy as that. So there you go.
Do cars have gender?
Gender's made up. We know that.
Yeah.
I know that all ships are female, but other than that, I don't know.
Some people refer to cars as female. I'm not one of them, but I know it happens.
I feel like it depends on the car.
Like if it's a muscle ar, like a car that you have for like status, you might refer to your car as
because owning women.
Yeah, it's typically an older generation.
I want to get a big muscle car and name it Carlac. Actually, I think that's what I want to do now.
Just a bright red muscle car.
Yes. Phil, if you don't know, that's a character from Baldur's Gate.
From Baldur's Gate, yes. And sorry, I know you can't see my face. I keep, but it did seem to fix the problem. So.
Yep.
Yeah. And then lastly, we have Tinker, who is he's just Shaggy, but ginger.
He's Shaggy with a southern accent, and he's somewhat intelligent.
And he's a mechanic. He's apparently Speed Buggy's best friend. So they are the Scooby and Shaggy of the
therein lies my confusion. I thought when you said Mark was the leader, that was Tinker you were referring to, and I'm like, I guess Tinker is a nickname. There you go. Now I'm on the board. I'm on board.
Yeah, no. Mark's the other guy who just kind of exists.
He doesn't say anything in this episode. He has maybe 2 lines in this 44-minute episode.
Yeah. It's not great.
That's what you get when you have 10 people in one episode. No one gets any screen time.
Lot.
But that's Speed Buggy in a gist. It didn't have a super long run, but I do remember vaguely knowing about it even before I saw this episode. I feel like maybe my mother talked about it or something.
I can see your mom liking this. She introduced you to Herbie, right?
Yes. So it's because of her that I watched the entire Herbie franchise back when Netflix rented out DVDs.
That's a while ago.
Yeah, it certainly is. But yeah, I mean, I certainly enjoyed this episode as a child when I watched it a bunch. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Winona.
And it showed up. No one could have seen it coming based on the title.
What?
Whoa.
Wind? So far we've had spooky fog and weird winds. What's going on with these? This is just weather.
Yeah.
If there's not a haunted tornado in the next series, I will riot.
I I feel like there is never a haunted tornado in Scooby-Doo, but I could be wrong.
I feel like that's something they would do, though.
Listen, Warner Brothers, new concept for a Scooby-Doo movie, the haunted tornado.
I'm just gonna type the words tornado Scooby-Doo Google and see what happens.
Is there something? Anything?
No. There's
So
nothing.
sad.
There's absolutely.
I'm sorry, Ethan.
Tornadoes are just too dang violent. We can have wind, but that's as fierce as we get.
The fandom wiki is a wild place.
In the Scooby and Scrappy-Doo show, there is a villain known as the Tornado, but that's about it.
Oh, good. Awesome. I can't wait to get there. Actually, I'm scared to get there, but that's...
thank you for not having me on when Scrappy was on. As annoying as I found Speed Buggy, excuse me.
Charlie is a Scrappy-Doo defender.
An apologist.
Yes,
I'm a Scrappy lover. Like, I don't know necessarily if he's good in the TV show that he was in, but in like the movies that I remember watching with Scrappy in, he was enjoyable. He was a good guy, good character.
And this is not the live action ones, correct?
Yeah, these are like the original Scooby-Doo movies, the 80s movies with like Ghoul School, Boo Brothers, and is he in Reluctant Werewolf? I don't actually remember now. But I know Ghoul School and Boo Brothers, that he's in both of those and he's enjoyable in those. And he's in 13 Ghosts, where I might be alone on this, but I like him and I like Flim Flam. I just genuinely like a child's sidekick. I usually find them very endearing.
Well, I guess that makes sense for your vibe. You got you're very much you're one of my favorite weird little guy friends, Charlie. So it makes sense that
the gang is
weird little forever.
Yeah.
All right. The gang. What are they doing, Ethan? Where are they going?
They're headed to this race.
Yeah, Speed Buggy's gonna be in a race, and they're excited to see him. But it's been a long drive, and we're stopping in Winona. You know, just the next town.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have great vibes right off the bat.
I mean, the amount of haunted towns they just decide this is fine, we're going to at is pretty normal for that. It's pretty normal for them.
Yeah, but like seeing population sign and it has 10 people on it, it's not great.
I mean, Charlie, the smallest town I've ever been to had a population.
Yes, but did this town have a population sign where things were crossed out and there used to be larger numbers?
No, it didn't.
Then it's not the same thing, Ethan.
I think you're expecting the gang to have common sense, and they don't do that in a whole lot of episodes. Without Velma, I'm pretty sure all of them would just die of starvation.
Probably.
Well, no, not Shaggy and Scoop. They would die of starvation after they ate all of the prerequisites.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We also keep flashing back to Speed Buggy and their gang, who are also on like the same road going towards this race.
We roll into town. There's no businesses open, basically, including the hotel.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. No restaurants, no hotel. What are we gonna do? And then the fucking emergency bag that Shaggy and Scooby pull out because, oh no, where are they gonna eat? They just have a bunch of emergency rations.
Yeah, we've got like cupcakes, apples, oranges, sandwiches, bananas.
And not even like wrapped cupcakes, just loose cupcakes with frosting on them.
Cartoon logic. You gotta accept some of that. If you can't make fun of the loose cupcakes and also not make fun of the fact that at least 14 times in this episode they just switch between two different backdrops as they run across it for 10 minutes straight.
This is true.
I want to call shenanigans on keeping the cupcakes in this bag.
I already did. I call shenanigans for the bag's existence.
Good. I'm glad you agree, Ethan.
I was watching this with Kelly, and I said out loud, "That's a."
That's right. You have your shenanigan counter. I need to keep track of that.
Oh, you don't have to. You can point them out. But...
Yeah, point them out when you see them. But Ethan has the master, tally going up the whole time. I think the next thing that happens is also shenanigan because like we decide, okay, there's no place to go and sleep, so the boys are gonna sleep on the ground, like pillows and blankets on the ground.
Sleeping bags.
Yeah.
Are they even sleeping bags?
I think they are.
When I was in Boy Scouts, which I hated, I had to sleep times.
I've done that too. But like the thing is, they don't even have like a shelter over them at all.
No, they
do not. So like if it
rains,
they're screwed.
Like so much is wrong with this. I'm just seeing the like white pillows just straight up on the dirty ground, and I'm like, who would do this?
Not me. I actually never brought pillows when I camped. I just laid on my arms.
It's wild. Ooh. I'm not sure I'd say it's a shenanigan just because I know that there are people who camp like crazy people, but people know.
Yeah, I always put my pillow inside of my sleeping bag. So like it's on something at least.
Yeah, eventually I got like a tiny camping pillow that's about a foot long and 6 inches wide, but not a full size.
Yeah. Well, the girls at least get to sleep in the van for the night, and this is when the weird winds finally make their appearance. They start up, and Scooby is so scared that he was sleeping on Shaggy's pillow, and then he jumps into Shaggy's sleeping bag because he's so scared. He's like, oh, winds, and Shaggy's scared. He's like, what the fuck is happening? Oh, it's Scooby. It's fine. Everything is good. But everybody's just like, we have woken up. There is weird noises. It is too loud with this wind going on.
I wonder how often the gang gets like 5 minutes of.
This is one of those instances. I feel like the Loch Ness Mess, that one with
the Harlem Globetrotters.
With the Harlem Globetrotters, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody really slept in that episode.
Including Shaggy's elderly uncle.
Yeah, sometimes that's just what happens, apparently, in Scooby-Doo episodes. Things are just too scary to actually sleep at night. And it's, in fact, so scary that Scooby has jumped into Shaggy's arms, and Shaggy, holding Scooby, has jumped into Fred's arms. Boyfriends.
Why not a polycule?
I mean, that doesn't negate the polycule.
That's fair.
But are we going to call shenanigans for the sleeping bags acting like they're alive?
I mean, yeah, you know what? If it's cartoon physics, it does in fact be a shenanigan. So, so the gang wakes up the next morning.
Yeah, so the gang wakes up and Scooby and Shaggy are ready to hightail it out of there.
And then what Scooby does,
where he like chucks the sleeping bag between his legs into the van.
Oh, I was gonna say when they're about to leave Winona and he crosses off like however many people there were there and writes 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's like, we left. There's nobody else here.
Although, I mean, we do see at the end of the episode, there's at least like 3-ish people left in town, but that's not my business.
Yeah.
They just don't have like a mechanic or a hotel or a restaurant at all, so those kind of suck. And this is where the gang... How many accidents do we have in this episode? I think we might have to count that also as just a separate thing.
There's at least 2. If you mean accidents with just Speed Buggy, there's going to be a lot more.
It depends on what you qualify as an accident, because there's a pseudo-intentional where they send the souped-up biplane. Is that an accident or an intentional?
It's something happening to a vehicle, but that probably should not happen to a vehicle.
Our gang catches up with the Speed Buggy people. They're introduced to each other. Scooby is scared to ride in Speed Buggy. He's like, it's a car that talks. And Debbie's like, you're a talking dog. What are you doing?
You know what?
I feel like if I saw a talking dog and a talking car side by side, I'd be less inclined to be like, I've lost my mind from the talking dog. It's like capable of speech in my default sense of what reality is. Maybe not human speech, but speech.
Sure.
I think the talking car is slightly more scary than a talking dog because the car should not have a face.
No.
But it's really great that like the gangs are just like, hey, I know you, you're cool, you're famous. We were gonna go to this thing anyway, now we're best friends. Like, it took nothing for these guys to become like the best of friends because they're all basically the same people.
That's a recurring theme for the.
I was gonna say they're almost carbon copies of.
Yeah.
I mean, not always do other guests like know who the mystery gang is, but I think maybe this is just like it's Hanna-Barbera. Of course, like they know each other, right?
Yeah, they exist in the Hanna-Barbera verse together at all times.
Yeah, I feel like compared to all the other things, like these guys are basically like the same vibe as Scooby-Doo. So,
but we crash into the back of this farmer's truck, pushing out of command.
Yeah, poor Mystery Machine.
They must have hit their front bumper in all the wrong way. It didn't look like they were going that fast. I don't know what happened.
Even at 30 miles an hour, a lot can happen.
That's fair. I have never been in a serious car accident.
I've been in one where part of my front bumper got a little crumpled, and the person who ran into 25 because it was a residential street. So
there you go.
I'm also assuming that Fred might have like gone a bit too fast there. Like,
Probably.
yes, this guy like backed out in front of them, but like the gang was like, Fred, can we leave faster, please? I'd like to not be here. So I think he was going above the speed limit.
Probably. I think he's probably going like 45.
Yeah. But, you know, thankfully Speed Buggy doesn't also crash. At least
well,
this time.
I hope if the car's sentient,
I don't know.
it has a bit better reaction timing.
I'm still curious about like the internal organs thing. Like I want to see Speed Buggy get in a wreck just so I can have my curiosities.
No, he doesn't actually bleed. He just like spills oil like everywhere. That's how you know he's bleeding.
Okay, I have thoughts about that. But luckily, the guy that they ran into is a very gracious person. Like, the man lets them his barn repair the mystery machine. Or I guess let Tinker repair the mystery.
Yeah, because as we find out, there's no mechanic at all. And okay, tell me you love Debbie, or like you're wrong. But listen, the way that she convinces people to do things.
She's very good at giving pep talks and like inspiring people.
She was definitely a moderately well-written character and probably the best part of the Speed Buggy show, but I never watched an episode.
Yeah, she's just like very good and persuasive and inspiring to people, and she's like, yeah, you know, Tinker, he's like the greatest mechanic ever, so obviously he's gonna fix the van. It'll be cool, it'll be fine, don't worry about it.
And we find out from the farmer. Yeah,
I think so.
And
we find out from him that these winds have been going on for a couple months, and it's driven a bunch of people out of town, and he's about to lose his farm.
And I guess he was supposed to be written in as the one token red herring, but considering that he has no red herring adjacent attributes, I think I don't know. This episode really didn't get a red herring.
No, I don't think it did.
No,
because I think he's too nice to have been a red herring.
Yeah, there at no point was I even remotely suspicious of him.
No, I mean, there have been suspicious old men in Scooby. He is not one of them.
We don't get a creepy coded character in this episode. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. Well, not creepy.
Hey, menacing is a crime, you know.
This is true. Thank you, Dalt on YouTube, for telling us that menacing is a federal crime.
Yeah. I need to know what defines menacing, but otherwise...
Do you want to find out?
What defines menacing as a crime?
Menacing crime meaning. We'll go with that. A crime that involves threatening someone with physical harm or putting them in fear of imminent.
Okay.
It's just like, you intend to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
But I mean, then you never know if someone could just feel like they're being...
But the girls take off in Speed Buggy to go get... Meanwhile, they come back, and okay. Tinker gives Speedy a quart of oil, and that's his food, right?
He wanted to eat the pancake.
Here's my thing.
Okay.
Here's my thing. Oil is not food for a car, because what do you have to put in a car every so often? Gas. Gas should be his, not oil.
Yeah. Oil should be his blood.
Like
gas should be his food.
Yes. So we've got a car vampire, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think that's legitimate. Although, I mean, it's not the first car vampire as far as cars go. I think that conflating oil with gas is pretty common with cartoons.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Can we call it a shenaniganery with how he uses his wheel to grasp this oil canister?
Mm-hmm.
Because he does not have hands.
I think you could call Speed Buggy's entire existence a shenanigan.
Fair.
It almost looks like
specific.
It's like he's wearing a mitten and grabbing it, like his tire's a mitten.
Yeah, that could be it. It's just very, very weird. Also, Shaggy is eating a sandwich that is just fries and bread.
Yeah, I don't want that. That is dry as fuck.
The Brits have a sandwich like that.
And the Brits have bad food.
Yeah.
Sorry to your British listeners, but your nation's categorically more bad than most nations' food.
They are still living in 19.
It probably has more flavor than a British sandwich, though, because it's salty. There's
Just
something.
salty and dry is a terrible sounding thing. You don't want it.
Yeah.
Also, Scooby steals Shaggy's food as
Yeah, so
he does
all eat it
constantly.
Yeah, of course.
But they're staking out to see where those winds could be coming from. And Daphne's like, "Where are they?" And right on cue, there they go.
She's like, "Is it midnight?" And then the wind starts. So it's like, well, apparently it's time. And here we have more shenaniganery, as one does. Shaggy and Scooby start running in a direction, and Scooby ends up on top of like a
manhole.
Yeah, a manhole, and the wind is coming out from like the sewage, I guess.
That's what it appears to be.
Because the manhole starts spinning in midair.
The logistics of how that wind works are all. I mean, especially once you consider the source, which we'll get to later. It's all nonsense. But yes, you can definitely count this individual on shenanigans.
Yeah.
Maybe they have multiple of that one machine, actually. And
that'd be my guess.
Well, but then they drown it at the end of the episode, and then the winds are taken care of. So I guess they also got rid of them. I don't know.
They also sent the people to the sheriff.
But
so
I don't care how many biplanes. A souped up biplane is not going to create 40-mile-an-hour headwinds sweeping across an entire town. But that's
yeah. It also helps that they're in I saw based on the map they're in a valley. And that essentially makes this town a wind tunnel.
So you say the map. I did not realize that there was a actual studied Scooby-Doo geography.
Just in this episode, I saw there was a map, like a topographical map.
Yeah, they did have one. So, I mean, that lends to it a little bit, but, cartoon physics, cartoon logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While Scooby is in midair on this manhole cover, Shaggy falls into the manhole itself. And then, Fred and Mark are like, wait, where's Shaggy? What happened?
And then he gets blown out of the sewer.
Which is another shenanigan.
And while he's being blown out of the sewer, it seems like his shirt grew about 4 sizes. It should not be that wavy based on how it used.
Maybe it's just stretchy. He wears stretchy clothing,
considering how much you'd have to.
Yeah. So, Shaggy's like, okay, guys, can we hibernate? Not hibernate. Hibernate. Because he doesn't want to be here anymore.
10 out of 10 pun.
That's what Shaggy's here for. He's a bard.
True.
He's here for the puns. But instead the gang is like, let's go check out that old church. Is this when they realize the bells are ringing, I think?
Yes.
Yeah. But there's a cemetery because there's always a...
I mean, in small towns like this...
That's pretty common, actually.
Yeah, that's
I'm pretty sure that even in St. Louis, where I live, I can think of a cemetery-church combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, in this episode, we don't really need Scooby Snacks vibes, because instead we have Debbie, who is like, Speed Buggy, you can't be scared of this. You can do it. You're the bravest car I've ever known. And he's like, I am? Okay, let's go.
What's that class of fighter? What's that class of fighter that gets the inspiring speed?
Oh, I know this. Is it just Battlemaster?
It might be.
So I feel like they get it with all the... But
there's a spell. There's an inspiring leader. I could have sworn there was a subclass of fighter that's like, you get to motivate people.
Fighter with
there definitely is.
I think you might be onto something with Battlemaster.
Because I think I've gotten that because that's what I usually do Lae'zel as in Baldur's Gate, and I usually have the option to get something like that.
Yeah. Oh well, this is probably taking us too far down. Either way, Debbie has whatever that is.
Oh yeah, she's just the best. Okay.
I don't throw the word best around cool.
She's the best of the Speed Buggy Gang.
Absolutely. That's a low bar. She passes it with flying colors.
Ooh, okay. I'm still looking at it. Banneret gets rallying cry
Maybe
to inspire allies past their injuries.
Yeah, I think that's for temporary hit points.
So there's that one.
That's not really the same as Bardic.
I think the fighters. I thought they just, or maybe that's just a Baldur's Gate thing. But
yeah, it might be. But we're in the church. They're like, is the bell's ringing by itself, or maybe it's the wind? And Fred's like, there's no way, it's too heavy. And then
using logical physics in Scooby-Doo? What's up
That
with
is funny
that?
how sometimes they're like, oh, we can guarantee this thing because it only logically makes sense. And then other times the physics of that logic are thrown right out the window and you just have to know what times are what.
Speaking of illogical physics, a man pulls a lever on this organ and a bunch of papers start flying everywhere.
That makes absolutely no sense. This is shenaniganery. There is no way that works. Also, I feel like that means that whoever this man is also doing something to, like, make the bell do this. Maybe.
Most likely.
With a random button.
Yep. And Scooby gets caught by the foot on the bell rope, so Speedy has to go.
He says the iconic, "Scooby-Doo, where are you? Where are you?"
His contract,
Amazing.
he says it. He gets
I don't like Speed Buggy very much.
I'm so
I
sorry.
agree with you, Ethan. Don't worry.
He's just a little guy.
Look, as a Herbie lover, I'm sure you love him. To me, he's just a car Scooby-Doo.
He's so much more.
A car Scrappy-Doo.
There you go.
So sad.
Charlie, whenever we get to Scrappy-Doo, you were free to convince me. Scrappy's hasn't been invented yet.
I'm also free to be convinced that this show with Scrappy in it is just bad. Because I feel like that is the correct take. The show is bad.
So everybody got out of there. And we see a guy in an abandoned building, which is always a great thing to do, is chase after somebody who
just like the tiniest silhouette, just like in a building, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's somebody. Let's go there." Like, guys.
I mean, that's how they search for clues all the time. Is maybe it's just that random thing, and it just is that random thing usually because they're the plot.
It's just weirder when the entire setting is a town instead of just like a spooky abandoned building.
Yeah,
you know,
it would have been funny if in this episode at some point they just tackled some random dude just trying to head home.
That would have been the red herring.
Yeah.
If they'd done that, so.
But they had to include 20 minutes of them running on a loop instead.
Yep.
Yes, they did. We go into this place.
Scooby and Shaggy get scared by an awning to go inside.
Yeah, obviously. And when they're inside, Shaggy and Scooby do the like walking backwards thing. Shaggy walks into a mannequin. The mannequin attaches itself to him, and he's like, "Scooby, can you count my arms, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not being as much of an expert on this show as you guys, but it feels like Shaggy says stupid stuff like.
No, this is par for the course.
Yeah, listen, he's just really high, okay?
And this is where we get what Phil was talking about, where there's just a loop of just them running back and forth.
Yeah, because Shaggy's running with this mannequin attached to him because he's like, "What's happening? Ah!"
I mean, of course I get it. You know, from an animation standpoint, it's like, oh, should we animate, should we have the animator spend 14 days just animating background frames, or should we just do a real quick one, knock it out, and then carry on with our day?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But eventually it culminates with them all crashing into each other.
Yeah. Another crash for the episode. Good job, guys.
Great job.
Also, there was a creepy dude laughing in the corner. Mwahahahaha.
His creepy laugh was the worst. Like, it was just like it sounded creepy in like the pervert way, not in the dangerous, scary man way.
Yeah.
Would you rather the space kook laugh?
I don't know the space kook.
It's iconic.
It's truly the most iconic Scooby-Doo villain laugh, and it's terrifying to children.
It's bone chip. At least it was.
I will look it up after the episode.
Please do.
But we came back to the barn. I guess Fred found a new boyfriend.
Yeah, he did. Him and Mark. Listen, they're cut from the same cloth, you know? They're basically the same person. They are sleeping together. Listen. They're
sleeping in separate sleeping bags, but next to each other, yes.
Fred, you're cheating on Shaggy.
Characters challenge impossible.
Exactly.
There's never gonna be a time when I'm not gonna ship people, okay? I'm just mad that he's cheating on Shaggy, maybe?
Again, if they're all polycule, maybe it's just it's like, oh yeah, whoever we run into, you do you, man.
I mean maybe speed bugs are just part of the polycule now.
Charlie, you are Shaggy, so I understand why you might be upset, but
I am upset, okay? I just want a big strong Fred to spoon me, okay?
But Tinker has gotten up bright and early, start working on, which is very nice of him, but it woke everybody up.
Yeah, but it's fine, because 5 seconds later, the farmer guy, Mr. Duncan, starts waking everybody up for breakfast anyway, so...
Yep.
food. And this is the
Explain we
famous
actually want to hear.
pancakes scene.
Yes.
Yes. Speed Buggy wants to eat pancakes. He clearly has an engine.
But also, I mean, now I'd be curious if you were to look up all of Speed Buggy's runtime as a show. At any point, does he clearly
It seems like he has a human food intolerance because Tinker said, "Do you want indigestion?" Which is
Yes.
like, if you're lactose intolerant and you eat cereal with milk or eat a bowl of ice cream.
I
So
mean,
he's just-
there's medicine for that. Maybe he just takes a little human food pill and then he can have some.
There you go.
There you go. I think it'll work out. I think it's good. Also, once again, Scooby steals Shaggy's food. That's the end of the breakfast.
Shaggy gets plenty to eat. He's not starving.
Yeah, he already ate, but he wanted a second round. It's like, oh, I'm stuffed, but that doesn't stop me, so... All right, and the girls want to do some more investigating, it would seem.
Because they're the only proactive ones in the gang.
Well, yeah, all the guys just want to tinker with the car.
Well, Tinker's actually doing the work. I think Fred and Mark's doing.
Well, yeah, they want to, just vibe together, just chill, get to know each other.
Charlie.
You're so subtle, Charlie.
What?
Shaggy and Scooby join the girls in Speed Buggy as they go into town, and they see one of the only buildings that's still open is the bank.
Oh boy, it's another Jeepers, it's the Creeper.
Hmm.
And again, we already mentioned there's no red herring in this episode, so I know this is going to shock everyone. But
oh my
banks
goodness.
are evil. And
banks are evil.
If you want to hear me talk about if you want to hear me talk about more about banks being evil, come listen to my podcast.
There you go.
Exactly. So they try to interview this guy about what's been going on, and he's just like, you know what, everything's fine during the daytime, but now there's the whistling in the bank vault, which wasn't even locked. He just opens it, and there's wind and moving all the money around. So
clearly he's being haunted by this specter too, and isn't definitely just trying to mislead very poorly.
Yeah. But they're not having it, and they go to the Hall of Records.
Yeah, because, they can't leave, so they gotta do something. And I do love that Shaggy's just like, oh yeah, let's listen to some albums. Not that kind of record guy. Sorry. This is, basically a library, but for the town.
It's one of the most, air quotes, boring libraries.
Yeah, halls of records are notoriously...
But we get a hooded man in a purple cape who shuts the door behind Shaggy and Scooby as they walk into a room, locks it, and pushes a whole bookshelf in front of it.
Okay, so whatever architect built this Hall of Records clearly built a secret sliding bookshelf before there was any evil shenanigans implied. So some architect out there was like, oh, I just want a secret room just to have it.
I think so. I think that's absolutely what happened here. And then they took advantage of that, because why not? Of course. Yeah. Every time I rewatch this episode, now I'm just gonna keep thinking about the Harlem Globetrotters one, where instead the guys were in the same outfits, the bad guys, but it was white. They were in white cloaks and masks. Oh boy.
Yikes.
But this time they're in weird gray and purple.
Legally distinct.
Yeah, obviously.
But Velma's like, I don't know what to do. And Debbie's
She's
like, okay,
licked.
I'll take Speed Buggy to go get help. She is licked. Not physically. At least not here.
No.
Although Charlie can ship
not
all
the
day
Hall
long.
of Records, guys. We only do that shit in the barn.
No one's anywhere. It's fine.
There you go. Debbie goes back to get the guys. Shaggy and Scooby are still trying to push the door open, to no avail.
What are we supposed to do? Where's Shaggy and Scooby? What are we gonna do? And I guess the van is now fixed. Tinker did it, actually.
The mechanic
Clearly. He got it fixed in, a day-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, it was his only project. Usually the reason that your car takes forward is 4 or 5 different cars and just kind of...
Right.
Yeah. So we take Speed Buggy and the Mystery Machine over to the town to see, where did Shaggy and Scooby go? Are they still in the Hall of Records, or did they escape? What could be happening? And we go back to Shaggy and Scooby, who are just trying to find something to whack on the door. And they end up
it's all books. That's all you find in all books
and
maps and whatnot. Nothing with any heft.
Yeah, Scooby ends up with a roll of something on his head that gets him dusty.
I mean, books have heft to them. Why not just hit a book against the door?
Not enough heft is perhaps the
Yeah,
more
not enough to
apropos
break a
phrasing.
door down.
You know what? You know what they could have done that I feel like is very cartoonish. I don't. The architecture in this place makes it seem like there's not a ceiling like right above like where the
Yeah.
bookshelves are. So I'm
Mhm.
just like, why not put a bunch of books up and like make a little climbing thing and like go over the door.
Sure. I don't know.
But
That's my
there's
cartoon
ceiling over.
logic.
I'm pretty sure there's ceiling over the doors.
I
Yeah.
have no idea. That's just not how I envision the architecture in this room. But
Yeah. But meanwhile, the rest of everybody gets there. They discover the secret door, and Shaggy's like tapping on the door, and then they tap back. It's an echo, and he's like, "No, there's
that's
somebody
not
over
an
there."
echo.
It's a knife. Sorry.
And then they're able to move the bookshelf out of the way, and Speed Buggy fucking melts the lock with his
Yeah, okay.
exhaust. Sir?
Between this and I had another note here, between this and the fact that in just a second he literally digs through the wall with his back tires. Why isn't Speed
Right.
Buggy out there being like the most annoying member of the Justice League?
Yeah.
There's no reason he shouldn't be using his powers for more than winning some.
Supercar.
Scooby has something wrapped around him that he can't get off. They get
Yeah,
him
he
off.
looks like a hot dog.
Yep. And this is the map I was talking about.
Yeah, and they figure that out. It's like, oh, it's a map of the whole area.
I forgot to actually show the map in that scene. I just thought they talked about it.
Yeah. They transition to outside where, for some reason, Fred decides to lay the map out on top of Speed Buggy, tickling him in the process.
I don't like that.
I mean, if
That
the
it
car
just tickles him?
if the car has gender, then clearly it's going to have some kind of physical sensory component to it as well.
Like, if my car was like Speed Buggy, every time I try to open the door, what does that mean? Am I tickling my car if I pull the door open?
It depends. Does it moan suggestively each time?
I think whenever
so unnerving.
Whenever Tinker goes underneath the car and starts, tinkering around there, that's when you need to worry. That's when Speed Buggy starts moaning.
I don't
Makes
know.
sense. They do call it the undercarriage for a reason.
Yeah. So then sitting in the car then is just, I don't know, like sitting on someone's back. I have no.
Yeah, it's like riding a horse.
That's my best guess.
There you go. Yeah, I guess so.
All right, so they found out there's some caves, so we're just gonna explore some caves. We have to convince the Scared Gang, which now includes Tinker and Speed Buggy, I think. But they're outvoted.
Well, until Debbie tells him otherwise.
Yeah, I do love Scooby being like, he goes around Shaggy and is like, no. He's trying to vote multiple times.
Is that a shenanigan, Charlie?
I don't know if it's necessarily cartoon shenanigan enough. I think it's just
you could do that. A human being could do that with a.
This is true.
I think that's just Scooby being very silly, and I enjoy it.
Yep.
I do think though, go backtrack to melting the lock with the exhaust fuel.
It's on there.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so
we're going up this mountain for some reason, even though caves are underground.
Because the cave is on the other side of the mountain. I just don't know why we can go around the mountain.
Because faster. It's faster to go straight line.
Yeah, they're also not doing switchbacks. They're not doing switchbacks, which makes this a lot more difficult. Which is why
just a lot going
Speed
on
Buggy, which is why Speed Buggy needs to pull the mystery machine up to the top of the
little engine that could.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody has to encourage Speed Buggy. It's like, you can do it, buddy. And then suddenly we are on top of the mountain and we go really fast all the way down. And pushing the brakes does not do a whole lot. Speed Buggy should get a flat tire.
He should have multiple times. Like, that gravel cannot be good for his tires.
Yeah, but especially with this short stop that he has on the bottom here.
It was a pretty long stop, but
yeah.
I mean, sometimes gravity doesn't care about brakes.
Yeah, his brakes could be busted too. Just to say.
Yeah, that is, which for him would be like tearing a muscle, I guess, if his brakes go out.
I guess that checks out.
Now we need to figure out the anatomy of Speed Buggy.
Yes. But we come to the cave entrance, which, for plot convenience's sake, is big enough to fit Speed Buggy.
Yeah. I mean, it could have fit the mystery machine, honestly. But we leave the car outside, And everybody goes inside. And there's another guy in the robes, like, ooh, ha ha ha.
Who is never, only one of the road figures is ever adequately addressed. The rest of them are just, I guess, fellow bank. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's my guess.
Co-conspirators, perhaps. Just as henchmen.
Yeah,
on the wiki, so it's unclear.
Yeah.
Using that double runtime to really address some issues.
Mhm.
Oh, seriously, obviously. So Shaggy and Scooby go into like a separate cave by themselves, and they get spooked because there's a creepy shadow. Must be someone behind us. Ah.
This is funny. So historically, Shaggy and Scooby have the exact same fear reaction to a creepy shadow puppet and a literal murderous ghost with a bloody axe. Like, oh, same level of scared.
Mhm.
Correct. They are high.
True. We also get some shadow puppets, and then
yeah, because the gang is like, it's your shadows, guys. You're fine. It's okay. And they're doing like the cute little bunny thing, the easy one. And then guy in the robe is like doing a crocodile alligator thing.
I guess.
And they're like, is that you? It's not me. Well, who was it? Cut to the speed bugs, where one of the stalactites is like so far down that it stops Speed Buggy from going anywhere for a second.
And he breaks it off.
Yeah.
Delightful.
Yeah, that's either very brittle rock or Speed Buggy is incredibly strong.
We've addressed that he's incredibly strong, and that gets even more addressed here in a bit.
That's true.
Yeah, he's just strong.
Speed Buggy shares Shaggy and Scooby so much they jump onto a stalactite and hang there for a few seconds.
Shenanigans, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can't see each other, and then Speedy's just like, oh, I'm just gonna honk my horn, see where everybody is, because I lost my friends. And then they're like, right around the corner from each other. So they're hanging together, everybody else is hanging together, and they've like, where did Speed Buggy go? Where did Shaggy and Scooby go? What's going on? And now, more shenanigans.
The wind
started. We have the wind tunnel now. Because Robes Guy just pulled a switch, and it's very powerful.
So
right here.
I'm not going to get into the physics of it all until we actually get it, so never mind. Hold my point.
We're about to. Everybody's flying around except for Speed Buggy.
Yeah, like we're trying to like grasp at the ground, but it does not work. Like everybody is just horizontal in the air.
Is this one shenanigan or multiple?
It could be one shenanigan per person.
I mean, it depends on how everybody.
That.
I think the biggest shenanigan
reacting.
is the fact that Tinker is traveling at a different speed than all the rest of them, despite being in the same wind.
Yeah, like I think wind going on, everybody's lifted. That's one. Tinker trying to do the swimming thing. That's another. Yeah. And then all three of the girls being like, we have to grab onto something. They form like a line and then grab onto Speed Buggy. Poor guy. Shenaniganery.
Yes. And then once Shaggy and Scooby get into the fray, the door shuts and Shaggy and Scooby are still in the air.
Oh yeah, they're also trying to do the swimming thing. So I think that's another one.
I think you get four for the price of one on that scene.
Exactly. Just like that.
So they've all like gone into this one room, and then the robe guy just closes the door, locks them in, and now there's no more wind, but also they're trapped. So what are we gonna do, guys? How are we supposed to get out of here?
Speed Buggy's gonna do it as he burrows through the cave with his back tires.
And here's the thing. He burrows through this cave, ignoring the fact that they have already established he can melt steel locks with his exhaust, and there is a steel lock on the door. Like, why not use the same tactic twice? Nope, we got to do something completely different to show that he's got two superpowers, not just one. Again, annoying member of the Justice League. No good reason not to be.
He's like Plastic Man with.
I mean, they're like, oh yeah, we need a bulldozer to get out of here. What are we gonna do? We have a bulldozer. Breaks through solid rock. It's just a tiny car.
But they find the wind, which, like Phil said, just looks like a souped-up biplane engine on wheels.
And okay, here's the problem. So they've been this whole time they've been pulling switches and levers and stuff like that to activate the wind. This souped-up biplane has been shown to move autonomously, and later on it'll actually fly it out of the cave. Or drive it, I should say. Anyways, point being, It is not a stable structure. There's no wiring hooked up to it. How are these switches activating the biplane?
Unclear. Maybe they're separate. Maybe there's a bunch of different this is the quote unquote. This is what happens. But actually, maybe it's more complicated than just the weird biplane. Maybe it's like there was like the switches in the church making the things go off there.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something like that was underneath the manhole, like making that go off there. Like maybe there's multiple different machines and such. This is just the one that's like the most powerful that goes off to make a majority of the perhaps.
Yeah.
That I feel like that's attempting to justify their sloppy writing, but good on you.
That's what I do.
Yes, that is what they do. But everybody is sneaking around. Scooby somehow smells a way out of the cave. Good for him. And we do see it. But on our way there, the 4 dudes are playing cards at a folding table.
Yeah, because they're just like, oh, the kids are trapped. Everything's fine. Don't need to worry about them. They're also just chilling in like their hoods and robes and shit. What is they're a cult.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it had culty vibes. I was literally thinking, like, I wonder if, like, I mean, not to get a little too blue with it, but like, I'm picturing like a clan rally where all the clansmen are just like hanging out, drinking punch through the hood.
I was thinking that too, just because of the way their costumes look.
Yeah, that's exactly where I went with it.
Yeah, like I said earlier, Phil, we had an episode where they had like similar robes to these, but they were in fact all white. Oops. And it was like 3 guys. This was also the episode with the Globetrotters.
That's great.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
And they were specifically out to get the Globetrotters.
I mean, that's okay, because I've also seen how this show treats the Native American population, so I can't be too surprised.
Oh yeah, it's not great.
That's the most consistent racism across the board, it does seem like.
We're still racist about that to this very day. Let's send them back to the country they came from, damn it.
Well,
is that America? Perhaps?
Yeah. Perhaps. But they hightail it out of there, and we get Mark, Velma, and Daphne hanging on to some stalactites, and Mark's like, I've got an idea. I'm gonna go help them.
He tries to tell the girls to go for the sheriff, and they're like, no, we're gonna go help too.
Okay. There's 4 guys in hoods, and there are 9 of them standing there, and one of them who's a souped-up supercar that could have easily taken them all. It's like, oh, we can't, we gotta go for help. It's like, no, you guys can easily get these guys tied up, and then you don't need to worry about it. There's 4 on 9. Come on,
which they eventually do.
Yeah, but like, I don't know.
I feel like the answer here is to send somebody with Speed Buggy to go get the sheriff, and then
all the other 7 still take the 4 people.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's still almost 2 people per 1 clan member.
So we're good. Also, they jumped on stalactites somehow. Shenaniganery.
Yep. Yes. We're doing some Shaggy and Scooby get chased behind another door, and they're like,
just hiding under a desk.
They're like, haha, we got them. And they're under a desk, and they run with the desk.
Yeah, they're just underneath this desk for the rest of like the episode, pretty much.
Well, except for the fact that the desk gets caught between the door frame and the cave, and they get out.
They were underneath something later, too.
Yeah.
So, as they do.
Yeah. Speed Buggy's alone, and Shaggy and Scooby run past, and they're like, let's get the hell out of here. And the 2 of the goons jump into Speed Buggy. Speed Buggy is not like that. So he kicks him out, sprays mud in their face.
I don't consent to you driving in me. Excuse you?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I mean, bad guys often aren't concerned with...
They are not.
This is true. I love how he just, gets mud all over them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good little family-friendly getting
up. 2 of the goons are chasing Daphne and Velma. They get separated. Speed Buggy yoinks Velma away from being chased by one of them.
Yeah, and then, she just gets to ride in Speed Buggy. She got saved, yay!
And then Velma's like, we gotta do something about this guy that's chasing us. Speed Buggy does donuts in this cave and digs a hole.
Speed Buggy is the coolest car.
Sir.
Again,
And he does that as a trap.
the original Justice League didn't really have any really annoying members. They could have used him for comic relief.
They could have, but either way, it's enough to trick one into going into the hole, where he stays for a while.
He's just over the hole, and when the guy tries to grab him, he just like backs up a little bit, like, it's a fine.
Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scooby have stolen a mine tractor while being chased by one of the goons. They end up chasing him because they can't stop. They crash into the wind machine,
turning it on,
which starts up, takes them with it.
It's driving around now. Like it's on, it's making wind, and it's driving around. So it's not great. But Speed Buggy saves them.
Yeah, Speed Buggy saves them.
The havoc that could have ensued doesn't, because the episode has to wrap up soon.
Yeah.
Well, in the last 10 minutes, that's when the shenanigans have to be like the wildest, right?
Yeah. But the wind machine is out of control. Somehow Velma's gotten out of Speed Buggy, is now being chased by another goon. Velma and Daphne both are. And Debbie and Tinker scoop him up and put him against the ceiling.
Yeah, because there's just a bunch of construction equipment down here, so they just do that. The poor guy.
Like, can he breathe?
It's not airtight.
Well, no, but it'll probably get hot
great.
eventually.
Probably. So we trapped 2 guys so far.
Yep, there's 2 more. Wind machine's still making wind. One of the goons chasing after Shaggy and Scooby in Speed Buggy. He grabs onto and Speed Buggy's like, we're not having that, and yeets him.
Just onto a stalactite. Shenaniganery, for sure. One is chasing Fred, who uses a stalactite to just, like, spin himself around. And Mark gets, Mark is riding, bulldozer. He's driving a bulldozer, and he just, like, scoops up some dirt, and traps this guy in some dirt. We got all of the guys, and we need to go find the sheriff. And also the wind machine.
Yeah, yep. I mean, that definitely could be a severe danger to everybody who's in the vicinity. But it isn't, because...
Yeah.
So everybody's running from it.
I was going to say, at least when it's driving, it's not making everybody go flying in the air. So...
Yeah, but they're being chased, and Mark's like, we gotta, like, duck around that corner. Instead of crashing, the wind machine starts tunneling through the cave, which is now the second machine that can do that. The first is non-sentient.
This thing is clearly...
It was a very souped-up wind machine, so, I mean, it cutting... Yeah. I have less qualms with it cutting through solid stone than...
Yeah.
The Speed Buggy is just doing it with, like, his tires. This thing is at least, like, supposed to be really powerful.
It's supposed to generate 40-plus mile-an-hour winds that can sweep across miles.
Yeah. And Mark's like, there's the best chance that this has of not doing any damage if I'm driving. So Mark's driving, he gets through the cave, he's swerving around, he eventually jumps out of the car, and it goes off the cliff.
Yeah,
so that's, I guess, the end of that.
By the way, while he's driving it through the town is when you see, like, people hanging out, more than 5 people.
Yeah, like, the sheriff and the farmer and, some family are hanging out.
Like, some people on the road are just... because he has to swerve in and out of traffic. And, that's when the sheriff and Mr. Duncan are like, what's going on? Like, is that the wind machine? Wait, what? What's happening? And then we get Speed Buggy with all of the guys, like, tied up, and the mystery machine. Everybody has come back to Winona for our little wrap-up.
And Shaggy and Scooby somehow got into...
Okay, this is...
As is their wont.
This is the other desk. Because, of course. Shaggy pops his head out of...
a drawer.
Just one of the drawers. Somehow his neck is able to do this.
Yeah, his neck can fit between, like, the 1/4 inch of space between the top of a drawer and the desk.
Yeah, I mean,
his neck is also able to bend in and around all of that somehow.
That's cartoon shenanigan 101.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And apparently this desk was really important because underneath the words, I cannot do words.
The cloth that's on top of it?
Yes, underneath just the tablecloth. Underneath the tablecloth,
yeah,
we have a map taped to it of Winona, but it's like a special map with like new things on top of the old properties.
Could have been trying to buy up all the property. The one other person we met that wasn't the nice farmer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's named after the bank president, Mr. Peabody. It's the name on the back. So,
and he tries to make a break for it. And is this the first instance of meddling kids, Charlie?
I'm pretty sure we already had it in on an episode last season.
Okay.
Technically,
I wasn't sure.
But like, this is one of our most coherent. Like, and I would have succeeded if it weren't for those meddling kids. Like, that's basically the line.
I did not realize this was heroes. I thought that had been around for.
No, that didn't happen in Where Are You at all. It's not that I know.
Weird, because I watched Where Are You was the one I watched reruns of as a kid, and for some reason that line was in my brain as a thing that I had heard. But maybe that's just pop culture.
Maybe they did it in What's New.
I never really watched What's New.
Yeah, What's New was just like, hey, this is a show about tropes. We're gonna give you every single trope in every single episode.
Gives all the tropes.
Yeah,
exactly.
That sounds like a delightful watch. I mean, if I was going to go rewatch any of it, I think What's New is what I'd go.
It is. There is still some there.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I wouldn't be surprised if new episodes came out today and had racism.
Yeah, though, unfortunately, the episode with the most racism of What's New also has my favorite Chase song.
Which one is that?
The one where they're in New Orleans.
Oh, I could see that getting real racist real fast.
Yeah. Well, back to this episode where Speed Buggy bites on Mr. Peabody's butt and brings him back. Like, shenanigans? But hey, we got the bad guy. We did it, guys. We solved the mystery. And, we get a minute to say goodbye to Mr. Duncan. He's like, oh, I wish you guys could have stayed now that it's nice here. But, hey, we were heading to a race. We have to go there.
Didn't they already miss the race? Like, wasn't that the point? Was that the extra day they stayed was the day this race was supposed to happen?
Unclear.
I don't know.
But to end the episode, Scooby is proving just how much of a knockoff Speed Buggy is by teaching Speed Buggy dog
shenaniganery with Speed Buggy rolling over and playing dead. I love it. It's good. It's great. Well, that's the episode, my dudes. Ethan, what time is it?
It's terror time again.
Let's talk about some trivia. We don't have a whole lot for this episode, but so this episode would influence Speed Buggy's appearances in other Scooby specials, such as Tinker and Speed Buggy being members of the Scooby Doobies team on the Laugh Olympics. The Johnny Bravo.
Laugh Olympics. I do know the Laugh Olympics. Sorry, I didn't realize I was supposed to be kind of.
No, I'm just reading from the trivia. I was like, oh, that's right. Okay. Also, the Johnny Bravo crossover, Bravo Doobie Doo, and an episode of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated titled Mystery Solvers Club State Finals, where he appeared in Scooby's team alongside other Hanna-Barbera Mystery Team mascots such as Jabberjaw, Captain Caveman, and Mudsie the Funky.
The fourth and final cast from a Hanna-Barbera CBS Saturday morning to guest on following the Harlem Globetrotters, Josie and the Pussycats, and Genie and Speed Buggy were both new at the same time as the Harlem Globetrotters, both previously debuted back-to-back on CBS Saturday in 1970, same time as Where Are You?
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that the instance of meddling kids isn't the first one, and that's why it's not in the trivia.
For sure.
But
yeah.
Again, these trivias aren't super extensive all the time, so it could also just be that.
It's just people.
It's just fans doing it.
Yeah.
That's all right. Wikis be.
Ethan, what is our shenanigan total for the episode?
Charlie, Phil, our final shenanigan count was 25.
That seems like a lot, but I don't know what your guys' average.
It's actually on the lower end.
That is on the lower end. Our average is about 30.
And does that include the only episodes that are only 22 minutes?
Oh, we started doing that this season.
Oh,
yeah. We've only been doing that for the new Scooby-Doo movies. We did not do it for Where Are You?
Because we just didn't think to.
You can always go back and do something like that eventually.
Yeah. Which ties this with the
re-record all your previous episodes.
Yeah, this ties it with the first Don Knotts episode for how many there are.
Good stuff. All right, my friends, whose side are we on in this episode? Are we on the side of our bank president trying to, scare everybody away and get the land dirt cheap? Are we on the side of the Scooby Gang, trying to solve this mystery? Are we on the side of the Speed Bugs, perhaps? Because
I feel like the Speed Bugs led episode. I feel like the Scooby Gang were, if it weren't for the Speed Bugs and particularly their notoriously brave leader actually keeping things moving, the gang would. I mean, there's only one Jinkies in the episode. The wiki said so. That's clearly the gang was not bringing their A.
No.
Yeah. I think
I'm a Mr. Duncan side.
Yeah,
He just wants to keep his
the poor
farm.
innocent people. The poor innocent people who are being affected by the horrible act.
I
corporate banking.
I support Mr. Duncan. I would say it's split for me between Mr. Duncan and Debbie. Stand out to the episode.
I can do that. All right, Phil, Charlie, what would you rate this episode out of 5 Scooby Snacks?
The mystery is bad. The shenanigans were average. I'd only give this. I mean, maybe it's because there's no nostalgia tied to it for me, like some of the other ones. I'd only give this one 2.5.
Okay, Charlie.
I want to give it.
I would also give.
Sorry to give, and that 3 is repeating. Sadly,
it's fine.
We often get weird math.
We do. We've gone like 2.89. We've gone 3.08. Like
because
4.58.
we use decimal places sometimes, just in general.
We use halves. It's bound to happen. So that about wraps up on our end. Phil, if you want people to find you on the internet, where can they do that? And if not, that's your call.
I have, like I said, no social media presence. If you want to join, again, if you want to join a Discord that has no affiliation with this podcast, you can find me there. But I'm not going to go plugging other podcasts, like Patreons on this podcast. Good luck.
We plug Charlie's podcasts on the network.
Okay, well then, yeah, go follow the Bits or what's the other one you have with
of the
Eldest Gods on Patreon, and then you can find me on the Patreon Discord for either of those podcasts.
Well,
so, yay.
Phil, I was going to invite you on this like right after recording, but we have our own Mysteries in the Machine Discord, which as of this episode like being out, we will have our patrons be able to also join that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, I don't know if I need another Discord. I might show up and be there and not socialize in it. But yeah, there you go. I am not on social media. I think social media is a toxin for the brain. Have at not to judge anyone who uses it. It's a toxin that's very indelibly tied into our society by design. So
it's a drug.
Yeah. And I mean, I drink, so who am I to judge? Anyways, yeah. Otherwise, you can find my podcast, The Unsociablists, which is spelled like it sounds. Good luck to you.
We'll put a link in the description of the episode.
Yeah, and we talk about, if you want to hear me say horrible things about capitalism and the crumbling fabric of our society that's actually been crumbling by design for decades, and this is just kind of the end result of very meticulous planning on the behalf of the oligarchy, coupled with some really bad luck, then yeah, go ahead and listen to us. Me and my co-host Kyle talk about America generally, but occasionally more global concepts from a leftist.
It's good shit. Good shit.
Solid.
And you know what? Like, I feel like it just very much fits the leftist ideals in Scooby-Doo. Am I wrong? It's just.
I mean, I'd say Scooby-Doo is kind of amateur hour in terms of your Marxist-Leninist theory, but you know,
but it's hippies.
Somewhere to start. Sure.
It's a bunch of hippies hanging out in a van.
Hippies are great and all, but I mean, I will say, Kyle and I, we are while we're on the left, anarchists, I think, are the Scooby-Doo gang seem to strike me as anarchists, and anarchists have never had a successful society because if you give no one any rules, then there's no incentive for the bad people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Marxist-Leninism in a very, very small nutshell for you.
Fun time. All right, gang. We're gonna go and look for clues for our next. Bye.
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 You can follow this podcast's socials at Mysteries in the Machine Pod on Instagram. You can send a message to our email, mysteriesinthemachinepod@gmail.com. Be sure to give us a rating, a review, or let your friends and followers know how much you love the podcast. That really helps. You can follow me, Charlie, at GreenPixie12 on most platforms. I also have an art Instagram at GreenPixieDraws.
You can find me, Ethan, on Instagram and Threads at ethan.t.hewlin. Our music was written and produced by Jason Hilton. You can find him at Negative Selections on Instagram. Okay.
better? I'm not picking up. There we go. Okay, so I need to be able to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, when we get the files downloaded and put them into Audacity, it should be okay.
Yeah.
See any spike on there is something happening.
That sometimes happens for like one person out of the call. It is very weird.
There have been times when I haven't seen any waveforms for anybody.
But like, I've never had a problem. It always still records.
Okay, then I'll trust it's all right.
It'll be good. Okay.
Many things are happening.
Yes.
Also, there's nothing to work with in this opening sequence. They're, driving to a race, and
cars
could be like the whistling are in the distance or something.
Is the episode already going? Is this you guys?
No. This is us brainstorming how to start.
Yeah, Ethan. We don't script like the opening part that we do.
I didn't know you did the opening part, so there you go.
Figures it out.
Yeah, it's all off the.
All right.